Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, bitches. About to complete this chapter. Then very quickly, we'll start with biotechnology. I'm waiting to start that unit. It's a little typical one. Chalo, let me see. I'll take a revision also side by side. Pollution and its types we have done. Electrostatic precipitators. Those who are regular know what all is done. Case study. CNG we did yesterday. Biomagnification was done yesterday, beta.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Control measures of water pollution we had done. EcoSan we had done. This was a case study. Integrated wastewater treatment. This was not done.
Yes, ma'am.
I said this case study you will read and I'll ask questions from you. This is what was decided. Then we'll move on to the last pollution over here. This we have to do is soil pollution. Fine. Radioactive waste. Again, it's a part of soil pollution. That's it. Then first we'll move on to our target should be to complete this part today. Bache. Let me show this case study to you very quickly. This part. Read it quickly. I gave you time yesterday, but I think we could not discuss it yesterday. Read the case study. Case study means I'll try not to explain anything to you. You have to answer the questions. Read very quickly. I think 2 minutes, 3 minutes is sufficient. What are we trying to do in this? What treatment are we doing? Soil treatment, air treatment, water. What are we going to treat?
Water treatment.
Water treatment.
And we are going to utilize two types of processes, not only one process. We are going to mix both the processes to treat water. Which two processes?
Artificial and
Artificial and
natural.
natural.
Very good. Such an example is already done very nicely, very clearly in a town. Which town are we talking about?
Arcata.
Yes, it is Arcata. Where is it situated?
California.
It is situated in California, this town. This is integrated wastewater treatment. Why do we call this wastewater treatment as integrated wastewater treatment? Why do we call it as integrated treatment? Anyone?
Because it includes both artificial and natural process.
Okay. Integrated treatment it is called because it involves two types of processes. You already told me. And we have developed it with the help of biologists from which state and which university?
Humboldt State University.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Peter.
Ma'am, Shaiza is in the waiting room.
Okay, fatafat, you tell me which university, Peter? Yes,
Humboldt
Shazuri.
State.
Humboldt State
Humboldt
University.
State University.
Okay. Where is this university situated?
Calcutta town.
In Calcutta town.
Yes, it's in the same town. Very good. Now, this occurs in how many steps? This integrated water treatment that we're talking
Two.
about, it occurs how many steps?
Two.
What happens in step one? Tell me.
Sedimentation and filtration. Chlorine treatment is given.
Yes, you have these conventional methods. Conventional means we've already been using these methods: sedimentation, filtering, and then chlorine treatment. But even after this, what is still left behind in water?
Heavy metals and toxic
pollutants.
Everybody remembers what are heavy metals?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so heavy metals and toxic. That is the reason we need to do a second step. So what are the three things we do in the first treatment, first step? Sedimentation.
Sedimentation, filtering, and chlorine treatment.
chlorine treatments.
Okay. But even after doing these three processes, we still have a problem. What all is left in the water still?
Heavy metals
Heavy
and
metals
toxic
and toxic
pollutants.
pollutants.
Toxic pollutants.
So we need to do another step. That is, what did the biologists do? They had a very innovative approach. They have grown connected marshes. How many connected marshes?
Six.
Six. Marshes, wet areas, wetland, wet soil. And basically in these six connected marshes, what all they are growing?
Plants.
Fungi.
Which plant? Yes, you may have algae, you may have bacteria, you may have
Algae
fungus.
and bacteria.
So are these all six marshes connected to each other or they are separated from each other?
Connected.
Connected.
Very good. So when water flows through these marshes, the pollutants are neutralized, absorbed, or assimilated by the plants. Three things happen to the pollutants. Either in any one of them, like they're passing through six, so this process can happen in any one. What are the three things which can happen to pollutants? Either they'll get neutralized. I mean, the toxic effect will get neutralized. Or second thing which happens is
Absorb.
absorbed. And the third is assimilated. Assimilated means used to produce energy by the plants. The marshes also constitute a sanctuary with high level of biodiversity. Now, because this area is marshy, wetland is there, so many plants are growing. So automatically biodiversity has also increased. You got a lot of fishes, animals, and birds over there. There is a citizen group called FOAM group. What is the full form of FOAM?
Friends of
Friends of
Arcata.
Arcata Mars.
They take care of this wonderful project. They're taking care of this wonderful project. So integrated wastewater treatment, which town did we talk about?
Arcata.
Where is it situated?
California.
California.
Which kind of a wastewater treatment technique they have adopted?
Integrated.
Integrated.
Integrate. And what are the two techniques they're integrating?
Natural and artificial. Artificial and natural.
Which ones were the artificial ones? Step one or step two?
Step 1.
Step 1.
Step one was the artificial techniques. What three techniques we generally take in the first step, which are put in the artificial methods?
Sedimentation, filtration, and
Sedimentation, filtering, and chlorine treatments.
Yes, in this man is involved, so we are doing this. So after these three techniques, pollutants, most of them are separated, except for what is still left.
Heavy metals and toxic pollutants.
So we move on to the natural technique, that is passing them through how many marshes?
6.
6 marshes. All are connected to each other. Why are they connected to each other, marshes? So that water, it can flow from one marsh to the other marsh. If it is not absorbed in the first one, it will get absorbed in the second one. That if it doesn't happen in the second one, it will happen in the third one. So when water passes through these 6, 3 things happen to the pollutants. What all? Tell me very quickly.
Neutralization,
Neutralization, absorption, and assimilation.
Now, because of the growth of so many green plants, algae are there, fungus, so many organisms are there. We have a rich biodiversity also in this area. What is this group of people who take care of this? What is this association called?
Foam.
Foam.
Foam. Very good. What does foam stand for?
Friends of
Calcutta
Calcutta
Marsh.
Marsh.
Okay, very good. Now let's move on very quickly to soil pollution. The definition will remain the same, beta, what we had done earlier. Okay. Presence of materials in the soil which are harmful to the living beings. They are harmful to whom?
Living beings.
Yes, living beings. And when the threshold concentration level beyond, when they cross a threshold concentration level, what do you mean by threshold concentration level?
Limit or something.
Yes, beta, there is a limit. When we cross that limit, we say crossing the threshold concentration level. So up to a certain level, it's okay. But if we cross that threshold mark, then it becomes very, very harmful. So what are the major sources of soil pollution? Fertilizers and pesticides from industries and rains also. They wash down heavy and other chemicals. What are the effects of soil pollution? Non-target organisms are killed in the soil. What do you mean by this? Non-target organisms are killed. What does this mean, beta?
Ma'am, plants growing in the field.
Yes,
Organisms
plants
which are present
there.
in the soil.
Yes, which are not harmful for us. For example, earthworms, which are good for us. Sometimes they are also killed. They are not the target organisms. Target organisms could be pests. We want them to be killed, but we don't want the useful organisms like plants and earthworms to be killed. But they also are affected. Okay, pesticides can result in biomagnification. You know what is biomagnification. I'm not going back to it. Agrochemicals. After Green Revolution, the use of inorganic fertilizers has increased to enhance the crop production. Pesticides, fungicides, herbicides are being increasingly used to serve this purpose. Why are we using so many fertilizers after Green Revolution? Why all of a sudden the use of fertilizers has increased so much?
To increase productivity of the crop.
Yes, beta. What was the purpose of Green Revolution?
To increase productivity.
Exactly. To increase productivity. So to increase productivity, people started using all kind of techniques possible. One was using excess of what? Chemicals. These chemicals, yes, beta. These chemical substances are toxic to the non-target organisms. They pollute the soil and water bodies. They cause problems like eutrophication, biomagnification, and soil pollution. All these three terms you already know. So what should we do? Control measures for soil pollution. One of the major preventive measures for harmful effects of agrochemicals is practicing organic farming. What is the solution?
Performing organic farming.
Yes. Integrated organic farming is a zero waste procedure. You don't have anything wasted in this. No product is wasted. That is why I call it as a zero waste procedure. It operates in the form of a cycle where water from one process is cycled as nutrients to the next process. Why is it a zero waste procedure? Because whatever waste comes out from the first step is used in the second step. It leads to maximum production of utilization of resources and higher production efficiency. So the latest technique, which now people say we should go for, is organic farming. What is it, beta? Organic
farming.
farming.
Organic farming.
Okay, again a case study, very small case study. Read it quickly about Mr. Ramesh Chandra Dagar. Let's read about this person quickly. It's a simple case study. Okay, we have read about organic farming. What is the name of the person?
Ramesh Chandra Dagar.
Ramesh Chandra Dagar.
We did not learn the names. They are all imaginary names. Basically, we're talking about a farmer in Haryana who has approached integrated organic farming. What all does he do apart from farming? Tell me. One is beekeeping. Then
Dairy
Management,
management,
water harvesting,
water harvesting,
Composting.
composting, and agriculture.
see, now he's doing so many processes, but each process is supporting each other. Crop waste and animal waste that he's getting. What is he using it to make?
Compost.
Compost and
Yes.
manure.
Very good. So, does he need chemical fertilizers?
No.
No, ma'am.
He has his own plants, he has his own animals. So, the waste which he gets from plants and animal, he makes a manure, so he does not need fertilizers. He also generates natural gas on his farm. So, electricity, again, the fuel part problem is again solved. Dagar has created the Haryana Kisan Welfare Club. How many people are members of this club now?
5,000.
5,000.
Have
5,000.
farmers.
Why do you think he must have made so many members for this club? His work was being done very nicely, no? Everything was being carried out nicely. Then why did he go for this club? If you read about
To create
biogas
awareness
plants,
among them.
yes, one of course can be awareness. This is moral value point. If you remember in biogas plants, when you did in 9th, 10th, we said that mainly the entire village dung is collected. Because one house, it is not sufficient to start the dung plants. We need a lot of cow dung. We need a lot of excreta waste to start. We need to fill the tank completely. And then the process of generation of natural gas starts. So generally, beta, whenever we have these kind of dung plants or biogas plants, they're always done on a community level basis. One house cannot generate, of course, it will generate, but then it's going to take 3-4 months for the tank to fill completely so that the process of gas production can start. It is always done on a community level. Wherever you will find biogas plants, you will mainly found in the villages at a community level. The entire village waste is coming into that, and street lights are working on that, or panchayat house electricity goes on that. Basically, it's a community level process because what it needs is a large amount of waste. So one reason could be awareness, no doubt, welfare of others. And second reason could be that such projects are mainly successful at a community level where you have a lot of members involved in this. Okay, now let's go further. Let's read about the kind of solid waste that we have. The first kind of solid waste that we have is, tell me very quickly. Municipal solid waste. Okay, what are solid waste? Discarded solid materials which are produced due to human activities. It is commonly referred as trash. What do we commonly call the human waste as? Whatever we produce, waste. We're not talking about excreta. We're
Trash.
talking about disposable things, glasses, polythene. These are all trash. In common language,
Trash.
trash. Okay?
Trash.
Chalo, let's read about the kinds of solid waste. First is the, yes, beta. Like you go to McDonald's or something, so it's always written trash here. Have you seen those counters where you put your empty tissues and all, the used tissues? It's written trash in those places. That means you put your municipal solid waste. They include waste from homes, office, schools, etc. Paper, leather, rubber, glass, waste, food material are put in this category. Tell me 3 examples of municipal solid waste.
Paper, leather, rubber.
Paper, leather, textile.
Give me examples. I'm asking about 2-3 examples of municipal solid waste.
Paper, leather, rubber.
Yes, beta. The second is your industrial waste. They have basically all those things which come out of the industries. They include scraps, toxic heavy metals, fly ash. What is fly ash? Oxides of iron, silica, and aluminium. Okay, let's revise this. What is fly ash, children?
Oxides of iron, silica.
Oxides of iron, silicon, and aluminum.
Which category of waste will you put them in?
Industrial waste.
Industrial waste. Industrial
Hmm?
waste.
Industrial waste. Very good. So, which was the first kind of waste we talked about? What heading?
Municipal solid waste.
Municipal solid waste.
Yes. 3 examples of that.
Paper, leather, rubber. Rubber, glass, leather.
Second is your industrial waste, which mainly contains heavy metals and fly ash, which is generated by industries. Third is your hospital waste, all the harmful things which are generated by hospitals. Fourth is your e-waste, electronic goods, irreparable computers, computers which have gone useless now, they cannot be compared. E-waste release many toxins like lead, mercury, cadmium in soil and water. These toxins thus get accumulated in biological chains of organisms. Name 3 harmful toxins released by e-waste.
Lead, mercury,
Lead, mercury, and
cadmium.
Okay, what is fly ash?
Oxides of iron,
Oxides of iron, silica,
and aluminum.
Okay, we have just done 4 categories of solid waste. We have more as well. Which is the first category? Very quickly, and 2 examples.
Municipal solid waste.
Municipal
Rubber and
solid waste,
solid
paper,
waste.
leather, rubber.
What are the 2 things you will surely mention in industrial waste?
Heavy
Heavy metals
metals.
and fly ash.
Heavy metals, fly ash.
Third category is what?
Hospital waste.
Hospital waste.
Okay, yes, very good. And then we move on to the 4th one, which I told you, e-waste. Tell me 3 things generated.
Lead, mercury, cadmium, and mercury.
Yes, very good. Now, the 5th one is defunct ships. Okay, this is the 5th and the last category of solid waste we have. Defunct ships. Old ships, beta, which are broken down. Okay, we have old ships. We don't know what to do with them now. They're not working. They have all broken down. These kind of problems we mainly face in developing countries like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, because of cheap labor and demand for scrap metal. Now, what do people do? There is some metal in the old ships, boats, so they try to take it out. These ships, however, possess a number of toxic materials like asbestos, lead, mercury, and polychlorinated biphenyls. People involved in shipbreaking are exposed to these toxic materials and thus suffer from various diseases. Supposing there is a big ship and it is useless now, what do people do? कि चलो कबाड़ की तरह, let's sell it. Wood will be sold separately. The metals which are involved in making ships, they are also sold as a garbage or a rag. So rag pickers, they generally go and do this. Can you name some metals which are very, very toxic materials which are used in making ships and which really harm them? Tell me.
Lead, mercury, asbestos.
Very good. Lead, mercury, asbestos. So we had how many categories of solid wastes?
5.
5. Can I have the headings very quickly? Come on, children. First one was?
Municipal solid waste.
Municipal solid waste.
Yes. Second is?
Industrial waste.
Industrial waste.
Good. Third was?
Hospital waste.
In industrial waste, we need to remember 2 very important things which have to be mentioned in this thing. What are they?
Heavy metals and fly ash.
Heavy metals and
Very good. What is fly ash?
Oxides of iron.
Oxides of
Good.
iron, silica, and aluminum.
Iron,
Yes.
silica, and aluminum.
Good. So hospital waste is done. And what are the 5th category we have? Which kind of ships?
Defunct ships. Defunct ships.
Mainly which 3 countries we have this problem of toxicity, people getting affected by defunct ships?
India, Bangladesh.
India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan.
Which are the most toxic materials involved in ship making, which rag pickers mainly get affected by?
Lead, mercury.
Lead, mercury.
Good. So now what to do? We need to dispose them. There are many methods of disposing them. First is the open burning method. The municipal waste for the municipal waste, we can use this method. Beta, the first category that we had. We can put them in open dumps. So they reduce the volume, but the unburnt piled waste most of the time serves as breeding ground for rats and flies. This is one problem. All the municipal waste, we can always put them in a pit, dump them. But there is one problem. When most of the waste is dumped at one place, they become breeding grounds for rats and
Flies.
flies. So this is not a very good method. Second is your sanitary landfills. These are areas where waste are dumped in a depression or trench after compaction and covered with dirt. We make a pit, we put all the waste in that, and then we cover it. These have been adopted as an alternative to open burning dumps. See, beta, they are open. The first category that we had were not covered ones. Sanitary landfills are covered ones. But there is another problem over here. Seepage of chemicals from these landfills pollutes the underground water resources. Chemicals in this pit, they keep going gradually into the underground, under the soil. So they're polluting the underwater, they're polluting our water table. Another problem with sanitary landfills, open burning, just put them in a pit and burn them after a big amount is collected, which we generally have in cities like Bareilly. We have certain areas where garbage of the city is collected for 15 days, 20 days, it keeps on collecting and then it is burned off. Okay, then it is burned off. Here we had a problem of rats and flies. So we had a closed method. Okay, what is that called?
Sanitary landfills.
Sanitary landfills. We made a pit, we put the garbage, we covered it, but then we have the problem of the water table getting polluted. Rat pickers and kabadiwalas, they collect and separate our waste into reusable or recyclable categories. You know about these people. Fourth is a natural breakdown. Dumping of biodegradable materials into degradation. We make very deep pits, but remember in these deep pits, we can only put which material, biodegradable or non-biodegradable?
Biodegradable.
Yes. And then it gets degraded off. You can use it as a manure. Then is recycling of e-waste. Recycling of e-waste can be done specifically by built facilities to recover important metals. Half of the e-waste generated are exported. Let me show this to you. You read about e-waste yourself. At this point, you read yourself. Recycling of e-waste and incineration. Please read these 2 points yourself, and then we are going to discuss this and finish this topic today. Read these 2 topics. I'm giving you 2 minutes. Read carefully both the points, Peter. Incineration and recycling of e-waste. Okay, tell me now, very quickly. about recycling of e-waste? Why is it basically done? Why do we recycle e-wastes? Bacha, why do we recycle?
Because it is the only way to manage e-waste.
Yes, we need to recycle it. One very important reason is to recover the important metals. There are some very important metals in the e-waste which have to be recovered. We cannot throw them away. About half of the e-waste generated in the developed world are exported to developing countries. Now imagine, see, for them it is an e-waste, the developed countries, but so they export it to us, okay? Developing countries like India, Pakistan. Copper, iron, silicon, nickel, gold are recovered during recycling process. What do we do? In a very eco-friendly way. Maximum e-waste is generated in developed countries. Okay, maximum use of computers, CDs, laptops is in developed countries. So for them, it is an e-waste. They export it to the developing countries. So we, poor countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, we recycle it. We try and extract which metals from these?
Iron, silicon, nickel, copper, gold.
Yes. So that is why I told you the main purpose of recycling e-waste is to recover important metals. Which important metals have you come across in this paragraph?
Copper, iron, silicon, nickel, and gold.
This is a very nice technique, but we have to ensure that this is done in a very eco-friendly way. The recycling should not be done in such a way that it harms the ecosystem. It should be done in a nice way. So the e-waste comes from which countries to which countries? Developed countries to?
Developing countries.
If we talk about a few years back, 10 years or 15 years, we did not have this number of laptops and computers in India. But in developed countries, every house has 3344. And after 3-4 years, 2 years, 3 years, they keep changing. Rich countries. So the e-waste generated is a lot in developed countries. So they export their e-waste to which countries?
Developing
countries.
And why do you think we take this waste? Why do we take the waste?
Because it's useful for us.
We take these materials. What all we extract from this waste? Tell me.
to extract metal like
Can we have the name of 2-3 countries which take this kind of e-waste from other countries?
India, China, and Pakistan.
Yes. And the last one is incineration. I think incinerator word you have already done in some class. Incinerator. What is an incinerator? What is an incinerator? In Hindi, what you call as a furnace, bhatti. Method of hospital waste disposal. It involves the burning of the waste, which contain pathogens, disinfectants, and other harmful chemicals. It is very important to stop the spread of pathogens in the society. However, the solution lies in increased sensitivity of humans to these environmental issues. So we could do what? Whatever waste is being generated, we need to categorize it into biodegradable and non-biodegradable. Reduction of the use of plastics, promoting the use of cloth, fiber bags, eco-friendly. Why should we ignore or why should we stop the use of plastics, children? What is the problem in plastics?
Ma'am, because it is non-biodegradable.
Okay, very good. Can we have the headings? 6 ways of disposing of. Tell me the 6 ways. Which was the first heading we had?
Open burning.
Okay, so we were collecting all the garbage in a pit and after some time we were burning it. What was the disadvantage? What was the problem in this method?
Pests and flies.
Yes, it's a breeding ground for rats, flies and all. Second method was?
Sanitary landfill.
Sanitary landfill.
So we have a closed one, a bit hygienic, but again we have a problem in this. What was the problem? chemicals seeping into where?
Water, underground water.
Underground water.
And third, we have our Indian style. These, who are the people who come and take the garbage?
Rag
Kabadi wala
pickers.
select.
Rag pickers.
Your kabadi walas, and they are very eco-friendly because they immediately separate which kind of materials.
Biodegradable and non-biodegradable.
Very good, very good. Now we move on to the most complicating heading, that is recycling of which waste?
E-waste.
E-waste.
E-waste is generated maximum in which countries?
Developed.
Developed countries.
So these developed countries, they export the e-waste to developing countries like
India, China, Pakistan.
China, India, Pakistan.
yes. And what do we do with this waste?
We collect metals from these waste.
Which kind of metals can be extracted from e-waste?
Iron, copper, nickel, gold.
What precaution has to be taken while extracting e-waste? Metals from e-waste, sorry.
It should be done in eco-friendly way.
Yes, it should be done in a very eco-friendly way. Very good. And the last one was
Incineration.
Incineration.
incineration is mainly used for which kind of waste? Do we use it for e-waste?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
So which kind of a waste we should use this method?
Hospital waste.
Hospital waste.
Why do we need to use this technique for hospital waste? Why incineration? Why not open fills and landfills and open burning? Why don't we go for that?
Because they contain pathogens and disinfectants and other harmful liquids.
Very good. We need to burn them. Only burying them is not a solution because they will not die. If we talk about hospital wastes, the gloves, the syringes, they contain a lot of pathogens. Simply putting them in an open dump or putting them in a landfill won't be sufficient enough because they will not die. Their effect will not go. So the only solution we have is to burn them. Very quickly, we have 1 minute. This is a case study. Then the last topic we have is radioactive waste tomorrow. Ahmed Khan is 57 years. He's a plastic sack manufacturer in Bangalore. He has found a very ideal solution to deal with the problem of plastic bags. His company developed PolyBlend. This is a powder of recycled modified plastic. So plastic which can be recycled, he has made. What is the name that is kept?
Polyblend.
How has he made this? He has mixed this powder with bitumen and prepared a blend. Blend means a mixture. Plastic plus here, bitumen, which when laid on the roads enhance the bitumen's water repellent properties and help to increase the life of the road 3 times. Somewhere you must have read ki plastic ki roads banne lagi hain ab. Somewhere this discussion was going on.